Well, insurers could be paying out tens of billions of dollars after the earthquake and tsunami disaster in Japan. U.S.-based life and health insurance company Aflac makes 3/4 of its revenue in Japan. Well, back with us on the phone is the CEO of Aflac, Dan Amos, for a first on Bloomberg interview. Dan, always good to talk with you.
It's good to talk with you.
Okay, so I know on Friday we had interviewed with you, and you had said that you see minimal damage or small damage so far to your company from what we've seen in Japan. But has that forecast changed given these developments over the last several days?
Well, of course, all we can do is look at it on a day-to-day basis. But our opinion is it's still controlled in terms of our claims and the issues regarding us. I still believe we will make our earnings projections. In regard to new sales, I still feel comfortable about that, but things can change in that regard. But I still believe we will achieve it. Every day it's a little hard to figure out exactly what's happening, but all in all, I think we'll be all right. I'm leaving for Japan on Saturday. I should have a better understanding of what's going on, but I'm in constant contact with our people and what's happening. I think the main thing as a company, it's very important that we perform right now and that we take care of these customers that have been hurt or injured, or unfortunately we've had people that have passed away due to the tsunami or whatever that is the earthquake or whatever.
The tsunami and the earthquake.
Right.
How many claims do you expect to pay out? How much is your estimate?
Well, we insure, remember now, we're not in the property casualty business,
Sure.
but we have life and health insurance, and we insure about 1 out of 4 households. So if you take that into account and say, okay, what we look at is what's the worst scenario we can come up with, and then work backwards. And under that scenario, if you say, okay, of all the people that are out there, even if 25% of them have our policies, that's what our exposure would be. Now, what we know is of these 3 prefectures that the government is calling as the disaster area, it accounts for somewhere between 5 and 7% of the population. And so if you take those numbers and run the statistics on it, you come up with that. So just take Dan, 25% of the number.
So I was just going to say that. So what you're talking about is that your payout would be 25% of the 5 to 7% of the population that's been affected by this. Is that right?
Well, let's say there's 20,000 people, then what I'm saying is if 20,000 people die in a worst-case scenario, then we've probably got about 5,000 people that we would have death claims on. But remember, our policies, life insurance, is in addition to their major life insurance that they have. So our policies on average run about 1/5 of the cost or the paid benefits 1/5 of what a major life insurer, say the major life insurers in Japan, because we came along and supplemented over the years with a lower cost type policy and a lower benefit policy.
And Dan, you're comfortable with your cash, that you've got enough liquidity to pay out those claims then?
Oh, absolutely. We reserve up for future claims, and we have 20 million policies in force. So if you take that in perspective and you say, okay, 20,000 people died, which no one has said that high number, but just let's take a high number.
Right.
Because the Hanshin earthquake, which was Kobe, had roughly 6,400 die. In that particular case, as you relate it to 20 million, it's a very small number.
All right. What about sales? I mean, you mentioned, Dan, you were heading over to Japan on Saturday. There are no new sales going on, I assume, right?
Well, first of all, everything south of Tokyo and certain areas are not affected at all.
True.
They're still selling. We still are turning in business. Our claims are up to date. We have no delay in our claims. We only had 2 offices that were affected, and they were both located in Sendai. And they actually will open today. They have gotten electricity, and they will open back up today. So our offices are back and running. But if you take, just say, okay, those 3 areas, 3 areas that were affected, we're just going to say, no, they're not writing anything. Then that would be 5% of the production.
Okay. And on Saturday, Dan, where are you headed exactly?
I'm going to Tokyo.
Okay.
And then from there, I'll just have to see.
Okay. Last question. Some are saying, I know you say for now that it's not going to affect your earnings, but some are questioning whether or not it might affect your share buyback. Is there a possibility of that because you need the cash?
Well, there's a possibility of anything, but no, we've had the share repurchase going. We plan on hitting our number this quarter. And so from that standpoint, I don't think so. But again, we've just got to watch and monitor this. But I'm very comfortable as of today with what we're doing. But it can change.
Dan, appreciate it. If you don't mind, we'd like to follow up with you after you go to Japan and see what the situation is like for your company and also your own observations there. I hope to connect with you.
I'll be glad to do it.
Okay, Dan, thank you very much. Dan Amos, the chairman and CEO of Aflac.